This is the first watch from Glashütte Original that I've made a video about, and that's a damn shame. The watchmaker has long been on a list in my mind. The list is titled something like, "Really cool brands that seem way underrated, I should really write this list down, oh hey, what's for lunch?" Every time I try on a watch from Glashütte Original, I'm so impressed by its finishing and its design and often its price. And while this 2019 Sixties is one of the simpler references the manufacturer makes, all of those impressive factors are here. There's quite an interesting history to this watchmaking brand, and if you want to get the full picture, I recommend reading a 2015 Hodinkee article by Nicholas Manausis. The short-ish version is that watchmaking began in Glashütte, Germany in the 1840s. After World War II, the town became part of East Germany and the government unified all watchmaking under a state-owned entity known as the GUB. Within the GUB, almost everything was made in-house, out of necessity, not out of marketing. And it's the GUB that, after the Cold War, became the brand known as Glashütte Original. And to celebrate its history, in 2015 the watchmaker launched this line of watches, simply named Sixties. The Sixties are a throwback to watches that were first produced in 1964, the Spezimatic. Like the Spezimatic, the modern Sixties is an elegant, automatic dress watch with a dome crystal and a dome dial. And the dial is still made by the same company in Pforzheim, Germany, T. Müller, which is now part of Glashütte Original. Let's do the numbers on this watch. This is the 2019 Sixties Annual Edition. Each year, Glashütte Original does a special dial for that year only. And in 2019, the dial of choice was this Fire dial. This watch is 39mm in diameter, 9mm thick, and 45mm long from lug to lug. As with many dress watches, it has a 30-meter water resistance. The watch comes on this really nice Louisiana alligator strap. Though it's not officially for sale anymore, in 2019 the list price was $6,400. But 2 years later you can find these for between $5,000 and $6,000. This dial, it's spectacular in the truest meaning of the word. It's a dégradé dial, which means it's a gradient that starts darker around the edges and lightens towards the middle. And in this case the color changes from a burnt orange to, bronze maybe? The color alone is gorgeous, but then there's the texture. It's like a tree bark texture radiating outwards. The texture is made using a 60-ton press. Then the color is applied in layers. The color and texture of this dial has led some to refer to this watch as the Eye of Sauron, which greeted you at the beginning of this video. They say keep your friends close and your enemies closer, so having the Lord of Mordor on your wrist could be a good strategy. At some point in the dial making process, the dial markers are cut. I read reviews that refer to these as applied markers, but that's not the case. These are grooves in the dial. One of the last steps in the dial process is the stamping of the text. The Sixties line uses this funky font for numerals. The font reminds me of the text at a tiki bar or tiki restaurant. They're kitschy and very on theme for a watch that's named the Sixties. While the dial definitely steals the show, the reverse side ain't nothing to sneeze at. The watch is powered by the Glashütte Original 39-52 movement. The 39-52 beats at 4 Hz and has a 40-hour power reserve. There's an old forum post linked to in this video's description. It goes in depth on the movement's history. Super nerdy and delightful stuff. Check it out. The 39 movement is finished beautifully. I took a 10x loop to this movement and couldn't find any flaws. It's really impressive, especially for this price range. Grand Seiko is the only other watchmaker that seems close in both finishing and price. Glashütte Original did an interesting thing with this caseback. Like with most modern watches, the movement is smaller than the dial, but in most situations the watchmaker provides a window only as big as the movement. Glashütte Original did something different here. The domed sapphire caseback is much larger than the movement. It exposes more of the watch, giving a complete view of the two-tone rotor weight and even the winding stem. I like it. On my 7-inch wrist, the Sixties is just perfect. It's light, it's low, it has a lot of visual presence because of this vivid dial. It's an ideal size for me and the style. At only 45mm long, I think you can wear this on a wrist as small as 6 inches. And I like wearing this a lot more than I expected. It's nice to try a watch that's both bold and subtle. It has the style of a neo-vintage piece with its 1960s aesthetic, elegant and subtle curves and proportions, but then there's the flaming eye of Sauron staring at you through the crystal. I'm really glad I got the chance to dig just a little into what Glashütte Original is capable of. I know I'm really just scratching the surface, so I'm eager to go deeper on the watchmaker's catalog and finally take them off my mental list of really cool brands that seem way underrated. I should really write this list down. Oh hey, what's for dinner?